Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, episode number 297.
Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, and we're heading out to Pennsylvania today and meet up with Steve Rocco. Steve and his brother have started Keystone Wild Outdoors, and on 12/31/16, they're going to be on the Hunt Channel, and it's they're in Pennsylvania. The biggest thing about Steve and his brother, they do things all archery, and it's the real, how do I say this? It's the real hunt. They show you how they set up, they show you how to take down, they show you how to do their camera work, and they show you, what it takes to spend the time to get good filming and enjoy the hunt. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Steve Rocco from Keystone Wild Outdoors. Hey, listeners, don't forget to text 33444 Food Plot for your free Food Plot ebook. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin, and we're heading out to Pennsylvania today. We're going to connect with Steve Rocco. Now, Steve is part of the Treason tribe, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But he and his brother are also launching Keystone Wild Outdoors. Hey, Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bruce, how are you?
I'm doing great, and as we said in the warm-up, it's been a crazy year for me, and I can't wait till January 1st, 2017 comes. That's for darn sure.
Oh, yeah. I hear that. I'm sorry to hear that you've been through so many issues here recently. I'm hoping for a quick recovery with everything for you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. So, hey, starting right off, we connected because of Treason. So why don't you just explain to the folks why you're involved in Treason, what you think of their camo. This isn't an infomercial, but Treason is a little bit different because there's a lot of great companies out there in the camo business, but Treason is different, just I think because of the people. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Well, you're absolutely right there. I'll be honest with you. The pattern caught my eye. I stumbled across it on Facebook one day, probably about 14, 15 months ago. Excuse me. And when I saw the pattern, I instantly liked it. So I went on their website, I bought the whole line, and I had bought it prior to a spring turkey hunt. And I've heard a lot of good things about it. I never really got to speak with anybody that was involved with the company, but Cobb, before I had met him, had reached out and told me when my order shipped. And I thought, that's pretty cool. This guy owns his company, and he's reaching out to me personally, letting me know when my camo shipped. We used the camouflage, very successful. To this date, whether it's been whitetail, turkeys, elk, I have yet to be busted with the pattern on. So as we approached to start the show, I messaged Treason directly, and Tina Kane responded to me, and that's when our relationship had started. And you are exactly right. There's no better people in the business to deal with. It's literally from the first minute I talked to her, I already felt like I knew her for years. It's definitely a family atmosphere. Jai, Mike, Cobb, everybody that I spoke with that helped me make this transition and get us involved has been unbelievable.
Yeah, let's talk about their pattern, because I wore it all August and on my sheep hunt in the mountains, and I gave some feedback to Cobb. But everybody that I bumped into, on the mountains, they're going, "What's that?" And that's different, and there's something different about it, but it works. Even in the Alpine, and that's where I was, and I I'm certainly not professional in it. I started off, I think my first camo was tree bark. So there you go. That's how old I am. But let's talk about the pattern and why you just made a pretty bold statement. You never get busted. Now, hunting elk, now that can be in black timber, that can be in sage, or that can be in the aspens, a lot of different terrain and foliage and cover. So talk to me, as a hunter for so many years, over 22 years experience, why do you think the pattern works?
Well, I just honestly think the whole motto of the company, and I know you're aware of it, is don't just blend, become, and it allows you to do that. If you get a camo pattern, Bruce, and you know this, that can hold up in the spring, and this camo pattern is considered a late season pattern, and you can have 3 longbeards strutting 15 yards in front of you, it's definitely a winner. I mean, that's what opened my eyes up for it. The first hunt we used it, and it's turned a lot of our team into believers. And like you had mentioned, the new people that see it, and, there's a lot of places that we go and hunt, and there's a lot of the gentlemen wearing the traditional patterns, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it tends to always catch someone's eye. Someone always sees it. They ask about it, where we got it. And I think other than the pattern blending so well, one of the biggest things I've noticed with hunting with people, whether it be me manning the rifle or the bow or me running the camera, the downtime when you're in the tree or in the blind and you're, fumbling through your pockets. The stuff's so quiet. Whether the zippers or the material, everything is ultra quiet. And I have yet to find anything comparable as quality and durability. And we just recently went on a hunt here. Our opener was a couple days ago for the rifle season, and it was really, really cold. And the stuff is ultra lightweight, it's ultra quiet, and it keeps you warm.
Yeah, and I wore it, if you can believe this. Well, you will. We were at 10,000 feet, and every single day something happened with the weather: thunderstorms, ice storms, lightning, snow squalls. You name it, and. It just, I was never cold. If it was pouring rain, it isn't waterproof, folks. So I had, my rain pants and my Gore-Tex on. But other than that, I was comfortable the whole time and, in it. And there's enough pieces to it that you can layer. You get neck gaiters, everything. And listeners, I just want to say this, and then I don't want this to be an infomercial for Treason, but you got to check it out. It's really easy. You just go to Treason. You can find them on Facebook. And Tina Cobb, Cobb Sanders or Tina Kane, get in touch with one of those two guys and, check it out yourself. And so let's talk about 2016 hunts. What happened this fall and what kind of filming did you get? So, your Keystone Wild Outdoors is going to air, and what kind of footage did you get?
Well, we have tried to strictly say Pennsylvania-based. We have over 22 team members right now. We've kind of allowed to do the field staff and the pro staff stuff a little differently in our company. We have our core group, which consists of myself, my brother Joe, my wife Becca, and our field producer, Dennis Dominic. The rest of our core, everyone either self-films or we alternate filming. We have majority of our team, like I said, is here in PA. We have some guys that are in New York, New Jersey, the Carolinas. We've gotten everything from bow fishing to elk, turkey, and obviously we're in the whitetail season now. We've gotten a lot of great archery content, whether we've also been a part of some organizations where we've got to take some children and introduce them to the outdoors, and we've been fortunate to harvest some deer doing that as well. We've got into our rifle season here, as I stated earlier. A few days ago, I had the privilege of taking ex-NHL star Tyler Kennedy. He actually played for the Pittsburgh Penguins here, hometown team. They won the Stanley Cup in 2009 as well. Tyler, I actually introduced him to his first rifle hunt in PA. We were unsuccessful a few days ago, but we got him coming back, and we're seeing tons of deer where we're hunting, and we've had a very fortunate year so far. Very excited to be able to display it here coming up here at the end of the month.
Now, did you archery hunt also in Pennsylvania or other states this fall?
Yes, we stayed strictly with PA this year. We generally will make the ride out to Ohio or Illinois, but we stayed strictly in PA. Our archery season actually ended the 12th of this past month. I personally, I didn't fill my bow tag because we're pretty religious with what we're seeing on our trail cam pictures, and we stay up on the deer, and I know what's there. I was running the camera a little bit more than carrying the bow this year, and we made sure that a couple of our staff members filled their tags out, and I'm hoping that here, even if opportunity doesn't present itself in rifle season to take the buck I'm after, I'm hoping our late archery season opens up after Christmas, and that generally tends to be a good time to get back out there.
So how many acres do you hunt there in Pennsylvania during the archery season?
Well, our bow season is definitely my favorite season to hunt here in PA, and we make it our priority. I mean, we plan the entire year for it. We have a few leased properties, and we have a home farm here. Our home farm is right over 60 acres. It allows us to be able to manage the farm a little bit better. We have a leased property that's right around 80 acres, and we have another leased property that's relatively local that's right around 300.
So do you set up – let's just talk about how you build your hit list. When do you start it? Start in June, and take us through the whole year of how you manage those properties for mature bucks.
Generally, what I will do is I will set up I'll normally start from the end of the year, and I'll watch from everything that's made it through the late seasons to compiling my hit list up, what's made it through late archery. I try to watch the deer from when they drop the horns to when they start to grow them back. Generally, I can keep a good tab on them then, who's in the area and who is not. I'll start running cameras in June or so. If I normally run them all year, but through our entire leases, I at least have all the areas covered by June. We'll start putting the feed out, start looking to see what new bucks have moved in the area. As you know, here in PA, we have to have all our feed pulled. We're not allowed to feed during the season 30 days prior to. So it's very crucial for us to try to find our hit list by July, August, and try to get the stand set by the end of August, just to kind of leave things untouched, because unfortunately, even with leased properties here, we tend to have issues with trespassing or just any kind of problems that the deer that have made it that are getting bigger, Bruce, how smart they are. And you got to do everything in your power to try to eliminate them knowing you be there.
Now, you said something about feeding. Now, that's putting in Wisconsin, we call it baiting. But other states, you can hunt off food plots, and then there's other states that you can have food plots, but there's certain restrictions on all that. Where's Pennsylvania on the food plot end of things?
PAs, they're fine with the food plots. Generally, what the guys will do here is we'll plant either an early season plot, is what I normally will tend to do. A lot of our leases are majority farmland, so we have a lot of the standing crops that are normally rotated with soybeans or corn. So I'll throw normally early season plots in standing timber with some openings. I mean, we're talking like half-acre plots. I normally get good activity off of that. I tend to use just standing feeders with like a corn and molasses mix just to drop feed them, as well as we build our own mineral plots in just to try to get our inventory. But I personally, I try to pull those out a little sooner. I like to see what the deer are doing in what crops around our surrounding areas, what they're going to be doing when our feed is gone. I don't want them relying on what we're giving them closer to the season. I want them to adapt to what crops are standing in our leases so I can pattern them that way.
So if I hear what I'm saying, listeners, take notes on this, because what he does, he uses his feeders to get inventory of the deer, does and or bucks, and then the bucks are in the velvet and they're growing the horn, so he can see what bucks are going to have really good frames year to year, because we know deer hang in the same areas unless harvested, and then you can build over years. You can get some trends, and you can say, hey, this is a split 5, and he must have been 2.5, 3.5, but now he's 4.5, and boy, I wonder if that's his dad, because that's the Big Ten we've been looking at. I mean, everybody names their deer. Why do we do that?
Absolutely.
Why do we do that?
I think it just makes it fun. I don't know. I mean, it's like once you get a new puppy, trying to figure out a name for it. But, I mean, it's something that you can, if we have a buck named Superman, I tell my brother, I saw Superman, and that we could be around 20 people, and he knows who that deer is. And I know how all of us deer hunters are. No one likes to tell where their stand location is. No one wants to tell about your trail cam pictures unless you're in another state. So I don't know if that's how that originated, but I think that's kind of how we stand by to kind of keep it undetected,
Yeah, my favorite one, I never got him. He was mature deer, 4.5 years old, probably 160s and up. And when mahogany, the only mahogany tined deer I've ever seen. I mean, he was pure mahogany. It was and I hunted him hard, and he knew it. I got within 6 yards of him one morning, but I it was, even with my crossbow, it was too far to shoot. But I'll never forget the mahogany buck. I mean, forever, and I never harvested him. I wasn't more than 100, 200 yards from probably 3 days out of 5, but he was that smart. And nobody's ever got him, and we haven't found the shed. So maybe I get a chance next year.
It's amazing how elusive they are too. It's that surprises me every year, is that you can almost think that you got him, and then he disappears. And that's another thing I'd like to touch on, that as hard as it is here in PA, and anybody that's hunted Pennsylvania or lives here, that if you have a deer that you've been watching, that you've a pattern, I solely believe, as much fun as it is to hunt in the rut, that your absolute best chance to harvest this deer is going to be on the first few days it opens. Especially if we public property hunt as well. I mean, we have some fantastic state game lands around that the Game Commission does a great job managing them. We're talking 2,000 to 3,000 acre plots. And, you get on these deer, you figure out where they're at, and all it takes is one person to come in, watching the scent, and they're gone.
And I'm going to anecdote that, and the show's already aired a few weeks back. Jarrett Shear watched this buck all summer on the farm in Wisconsin. That's where I've been hunting for 50 years, on and off for 50 years. So he just followed it. He knew it was there. He knew it was coming from the south. He knew everything about it, and he was running with a couple other guys, bachelor group, and just hanging out. And he took it the Sunday morning of the opener. So it opened Saturday. Sunday morning he took it, and it was a 180 class gross whitetail, and biggest one we've ever taken on the farm. The biggest one prior to that was a 173 that Eddie took on the farm. But it was the biggest deer, that, we've ever seen, on camera. And then it's the biggest one we ever put down. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I just wanted to echo, he took that, in the morning on, the second day of the season, and it was shirt sleeves. He's hunting in, T-shirts and a face mask and, whatever else out of his tree stand. And the deer did exactly what he should do in the true pattern. He patterned it. And I agree with you. As soon as September changes and their horns get, they're hard, and, they know what's coming up, and people start banging in the woods and doing things, they see more activity, they change. And there's no question about that. And so that's my 2 cents on that. So, Steve, let's stay on that thing. So, okay, how do you make sure you're in the right place the first 2 or 3 days of the season, no matter if it's raining or blazing sun? Where do you want to be?
Well, generally what I've tended to do whenever I have a few strategies setting up trail cameras. Instead of putting one in a field or one in a set of timber or acorns, what I'll generally do is I try to set multiple cameras up in an area. For example, say I see a couple velvet bucks out in this field a few weeks prior to, and they're starting to go hardhorn. If I'm starting to see a group of does starting to dominate this field towards darkness in the evening, what I've learned personally is generally those bucks, once they're starting to break up from bachelor groups, 9 times out of 10, they're probably skirting that field somewhere. I've made the mistakes in life before thinking that those deer have left that area. But with using multiple trail cameras in a certain location that I've put my focus on, I've noticed that there's been certain times, whether it be, for example, I've been watching this buck out in the field at 10 after 7 in the evening, and he's starting to hardhorn up, and he's not there, but I have 15 does out there. That's not saying he's not 40 yards in the woods. So I've learned from the trail cams being probably one of my most beneficial and important tools that we use to locate deer and our stand placement.
Hey, let's take a break now. How do people get in touch with you? And let's tell them when your show, Keystone Wild Outdoors, is going to air.
Keystone Wild Outdoors premieres on New Year's Eve this year, December 31st at 8 p.m. That's the Saturday. That's a Friday. We will air every Saturday at 8 p.m. through March on the Hunt Channel. They can contact me. I have a Facebook page. I have a personal page. My name's Steve Rocco. We have a Keystone Wild Outdoors page, and our website is www.keystonewildoutdoors.com.
No, are you on Twitter or or Instagram?
We are on both. We're on Twitter as Keystone Wild Outdoors, and we're on Instagram as Keystone Wild Outdoors, at Keystone Wild Outdoors on Twitter.
All right, folks. So, reach out to them, and, best of luck with your show, coming up. Let's talk about the hunting tradition. And Pennsylvania has a huge hunting tradition, especially for whitetails. And tell me about yours and why it started and why you're, getting involved with kids. You mentioned that early on, that you've done some youth special thing to get kids outdoors. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, as I got started at a young age, almost as a tradition, as every Pennsylvania family has, following my brother and my dad up into our farm woods here, without a gun, being younger, and kind of getting introduced to the sport, as well as they let me tag along everything they did outdoor-wise, and it's kind of just grown from there, and it's turned into a passion, maybe more of an obsession, just to chase the whitetails. We've gone to the extent we're 100% fair chase hunters, but my brother and I and our field producer and our field producer Dennis and our one field staff member Bob, we actually all raise deer. And I personally have learned a lot from just watching the whitetails, raising them out of pleasure, learned a lot of how to react in certain situations, and we have got involved here this past year when we started to begin filming for Keystone Wild Outdoors with an organization called Rut'n Buck Hunt Club. And what Rut'n Buck Hunt Club does, it's kind of a Make-A-Wish foundation for the hunting world. You've probably heard of Hunting for Heroes and stuff like that. This is a similar organization, but what Rut'n Buck Hunt Club does is they take underprivileged children, disabled youth, children in remission, anything you can think of, and they make the dreams come true. There's a preserve they deal with called Spring Valley Whitetail Haven. For the whitetails, we do a lot of fair chase stuff, and particularly turkey. It's an amazing thing to, one, introduce the children to the outdoors and to relive their reactions after they make a harvest. And the really cool thing that Rut'n Buck does after everything is completed and they harvest the animal, whether, the success rate's fantastic. They have a dinner for the child, and they bring them back later in the year and at an event and actually they provide a mount for them. They mount the animal that they harvest the year before. It's a great thing.
That's great. If somebody listened to this in Pennsylvania, how do they get a hold of Rut'n Buck Hunt Club?
Rut'n Buck Hunt Club has a website as well. It's www.rutnbuckhuntclub.com. They also have a Facebook page. You can message them. The Facebook page is Rut'n Buck Hunt Club.
Thanks for that. And, when we think about the hunting industry, what's your take on all these shows? I mean, I look at the Sportsman Channel, Pursuit Channel, and just am amazed of the programming they have. And if somebody wants to start, like you and your brother, their own show, what advice would you give them?
Probably the biggest thing of advice I can say is when you think you have enough footage, keep filming. I do everything in-house here. We don't sub anything out as far as for editing. I do everything from my brother and I and our team. We film all of our hunts. I do all of the production. I do all the editing. I have everything done here from when it goes to the network. You can start small. If this is your dream and this is what you want to do, start small, work yourself up. You don't have to buy a $10,000 camera to start. And just try to get involved. There's a lot of great people in this industry, and there's a lot of people that are out there willing to help you. And I honestly think if we can continue to work together as a unit, it's just going to continue to get better. We've had a lot of great people that we've met and have helped us out so far along the way, and it's just opened a lot of new doors for us.
Now, how have you met some of these other people? On social media or shows or just word of mouth?
I've made connections at a big Pennsylvania outdoor shows, the Harrisburg, the farm show complex. You've probably heard of that, the Harrisburg Hunt Show.
Yes, sir.
I've made connections there. I've made them through the industry just simply by messaging people. Obviously, there's a lot of people that want to take the step. So don't be discouraged if you message someone and they don't take you seriously. You almost want to, if you're going to do something and you want to look for sponsors or you want to get your foot in the door somewhere, you almost want to make a resume like you would if you're going to get a job. Have something video-wise to back yourself up. So if someone takes the time to look at you, you have something to show them that you're definitely serious about it. This is something we've wanted to do our entire lives, and we finally just took the step and did it. It's nothing to be afraid of. If you love to do it, if it's something that is your passion, go for it.
Now, do you use cameras mounted on trees, or you just use them on your bow or your rifle, or talk about your camera gear, your filming gear?
Well, we tend to use generally on a normal hunt, we'll run 4 angles. What we normally will do is, for example, if it's a tree stand based hunt, we'll set a double up where we have the shooter below us, the cameraman is above. We use the body camera arms that we run cannons off of. I will set a camera up on the shooter. I will set a camera up the opposite angle, getting the shooter and the cameraman, and we will put a camera on the weapon as well.
So, realistically, you don't leave your camera gear out there overnight. So you're coming in, it's 4 dark 30. How long does it take to set up all that equipment, especially in the dark? I mean, do you use filtered headlamps? I mean, tell me how you do it.
It's definitely we're getting better at it, Ruth. Let's just say that. At first, you kind of want to give yourself a cushion to get in there. You're thinking, okay, I got to set all this stuff up, and you can even ask my wife. She'd laugh at me. I'd be out in our yard seeing how quick I could set the camera arm up. But it's definitely more of a task where we've learned where we've been able with these leases to get in and pre-hang a set instead of trying to carry a climber in and get 2 guys set up in the morning plus all the gear. But more hunting spots to where we're taking a climber up and getting a platform set. And generally now, I'll say that we can get to the base of the tree, be up the tree, have all the cameras set up, and be ready to hunt in about 10 minutes.
Wow. And that's with a climber?
That's with a climber, yes.
Now, what about your tree stands or your hang-ons?
Well, they normally, I'm going to say it's going to be right around the same amount of time. I'll reiterate that. I guess if we would take 2 climbers in a tree, give me 20 minutes. If we're talking like NASCAR pit crew time, give me 20. If I have a hang on in the tree and I have a climber on my back, if I set the platform and get the camera arm set up, I generally can get everything in on a hang on. I'm going to say 10 minutes. A climber will say 20.
And then if it's ladder stand, heck of a lot easier.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, ladder stand makes it nice, too. We set a lot of setups with a ladder stand just for the plain fact that if we're climbing the tree with a climber up the ladder stand, we simply just step on the seat, hang the platform for the climber, strap in, put the cameras up, and that generally puts us in a pretty good angle on the shooter whether it be rifle or bow, just being that extra couple foot higher.
Hey, that's great, Stephen. Unbelievably, we're running out of time. So here's a time to give a shout out. But just if you could, let the listeners know what you think about Whitetail Rendezvous. Just take 30 seconds.
Bruce, I've been a big fan. I thank you again for letting me be involved with Whitetail Rendezvous and taking the time out to talk to me and give me the opportunity to be on the show with you. I can't thank you enough. I hopefully in the near future here we can hook back up and have another conversation. It was a blast. Yeah, I love it. So take a minute or two and get some shout outs to your sponsors, people that have impacted your venture into Keystone Wild Outdoors. First, I'd like to start off with thanking everybody at Treason, Cobb, Jai, Mike, Tina. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to get involved with Keystone Wild Outdoors, and you've been great. You treated us like a family. I'd like to thank Remington Scent Control Technology, My Bow Buddy, Muddy Outdoors, Mill Creek Valley Game Calls, Deer Crossing Archery, Bucknuts Deer Scents, Common Hunter, Bison Coolers, and Axe Broadheads. We couldn't do it without you guys. I'd like to thank my wife for putting up with my addiction to whitetails and to filming, and our entire family. We can't wait for our dream to come true here. And we've met great guys like Jack Manick, who's got us involved with the Pennsylvania elk hunts. Jordan Miller, who's let us come bow fishing with him in the rivers in Pittsburgh. And everyone that's been involved with the production and helped us out along the way. If I'm forgetting you, I'm sorry. But we truly do appreciate it, and we appreciate everything you guys have done for us. And with that, folks, that's going to be a wrap on another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. So, Steve Rocco, on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America, thank you so much for spending your time with us today, and we wish you great success with Keystone Wild Outdoors. Thank you, Bruce. It was a pleasure. On the next episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, we're heading north of the border. We're heading up to Edmonton, Canada, and we're going to connect with Kevin Wilson. Now, Kevin's a prolific outdoor writer, over 22 years of writing experience up in Canada. And he runs his own TV program called Canadian Outdoorsman. It's an online TV program. Plus, he and his wife, Heather, run Alberta Hunting Adventures. Stay tuned to Steve. We're going to have part 1 and part 2 of Steve Wilson from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.